Have you ever wondered why? Even with all the motivation in the world, you still haven't moved forward? Have you ever felt that fire in your chest after watching an inspiring video or reading a powerful quote, only to wake up the next day and feel nothing? Maybe it's time you hear what no one dares to say. Motivation is a lie. It gets you excited for a few minutes, but it won't carry you through the climb. That's when most people give up. But the Stoics discovered something that changes everything. The secret is not to feel, it's to act. In this video, you'll learn why some of the greatest minds in Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, never relied on motivation to guide their lives. They built a mindset immune to excuses, laziness, and procrastination. They weren't moved by mood, but by discipline. They didn't wait for the right atmosphere. They created it. That's what made them unshakable. And that same strength can be built inside you, starting now. So if you're tired of waiting for the right mood, if you're ready to stop starting and stopping, and finally become someone who follows through, this video is for you. But be ready. What you'll hear here isn't comfortable. It's raw. It's real. Because only truth transforms. And if you believe you deserve more out of life, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to wake up. From now on, you won't be led by motivation, but by your own decision. Motivation is one of the biggest lies sold as truth. It appears in videos with epic music, powerful phrases, and promises that you just need a push to change your life. But reality is different. Motivation is not consistent. It fluctuates. And if you depend on it, your results will fluctuate too. Stoicism warns us, emotional impulse is too weak to sustain a long journey. The Stoics knew that waiting to feel motivated before acting is like trying to harvest fruit from soil that was never cultivated. Action must come before emotion. They understood that feelings are not reliable. They're like waves. Sometimes they push you, other times they knock you down. That's why the focus should be on silent discipline, not noisy excitement. Those who only act when inspired don't get very far. When we rely too much on motivation, we fall into a mental trap. We think we need to be in the right mood to do what must be done. And when that mood doesn't show up, we procrastinate. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll do it later. I'm not in the mood today"? That thought is dangerous because it disguises laziness as self-care and disorganization as freedom. The Stoic doesn't negotiate with laziness. He delivers. Motivation is also selective. It shows up when we enjoy something, but vanishes when it's time to do what's hard. That's why relying on it means letting your life be ruled by momentary pleasure. An athlete who only trains when he feels like it will never reach excellence. The Stoics did the opposite. They trained their minds to act on good days and bad. Because a disciplined mind doesn't need emotional permission. You don't need to feel motivated to begin. You only need to decide. Decision is the starting point of discipline, and discipline builds lasting results. Motivation might spark the beginning, but discipline finishes the job. Once you understand that deeply, you'll stop waiting for better days and start turning any day into an opportunity, even without the desire. True transformation begins when you stop depending on motivation and start trusting action. That changes everything, because you stop negotiating with your mind and begin leading it. And leading your own mind is the greatest victory a human being can achieve. From there, nothing remains out of reach. A mind trained to act, not to wait, becomes an unstoppable force toward success. Emotions are like the wind, constantly changing direction. Sometimes they push you forward, sometimes they push you back. But if you build your life based on that wind, your path will be unstable. Stoicism teaches us that our actions shouldn't be guided by feelings, but by reason. Emotions are passengers on the train of life, not the driver. Letting them steer your life is choosing to live by chance. The Stoic mind is trained to recognize emotion, but not submit to it. Seneca wrote that whoever lets emotion lead becomes a slave to their own impulses. That means anger, fear, anxiety, or even euphoria can blind us. And a blind mind makes bad decisions. Stoics practiced emotional distance in order to act with clarity, not with impulse. How many times have you regretted something done in the heat of the moment? How many decisions were made based on feeling, rather than knowing. Emotions aren't evil, they're human, but they weren't made to lead. The Stoic doesn't ignore them, he observes them. He asks, does this emotion bring me closer or further from my purpose? Only then does he act. That's how mental strength is built. Motivation, excitement, enthusiasm, all are emotional states, and all are temporary. Basing your productivity on those feelings is like relying on sunshine to get things done. The Stoic wakes up even when it's cloudy. He follows through even when tired, because his actions are rooted in values, not feelings. What sustains his routine is not the wind of emotion, but the rock of discipline. Of course, some days everything feels easier, when your energy is high and focus comes naturally. But success isn't measured by those days. It's shaped precisely on the tough mornings, the sleepless nights, the moments when no one is watching. The Stoic mind grows stronger when it acts without glamour, without stage, without applause, because it understands discipline doesn't need an audience. You want freedom? Then learn not to be a prisoner of how you feel. Feeling is natural, but acting with awareness is a choice. The wind blows where it wants, but you decide where to anchor your ship. Stoic philosophy is that anchor, firm, stable, unshakable. And once you lean on it, you realize the wind doesn't matter. You always move forward. There's a silent trap that keeps millions stuck, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the right Monday, the ideal mood, the perfect scenario. But the harsh, Stoic truth is that this perfect moment simply doesn't exist. It's an illusion that hides fear, insecurity, and procrastination. The Stoic understands. The more you wait, the further you drift from real action. Life wasn't made to wait for ideal conditions. It was made to be shaped with what you have now. Epictetus taught that the present moment is the only reliable resource we have. The future is uncertain, the past is gone. Only the now can be used as a tool for change. And even if the now seems imperfect, it holds the power of decision. What matters is acting, even through uncertainty. Waiting too long creates a kind of paralysis disguised as planning. You think you're being strategic, but really you're just afraid to fail. The Stoic breaks this cycle by taking responsibility for the time in his hands. He doesn't hide behind excuses. If it's hard, he faces it. If it's uncomfortable, he grows through it. Because he knows discipline doesn't bloom in waiting. It's born in movement. Great works weren't born in perfect moments. They were created in chaos, crisis, and scarcity. Marcus Aurelius wrote his deepest thoughts in the middle of war. And you, why are you still waiting for everything to be calm before starting? The Stoic knows there's no better time than now. And even if you don't feel ready, consistent action is what makes you ready. Acting on cloudy days builds strength. Starting when everything feels against you forges character. Discipline is built exactly in those moments when the right time seems absent. And that's where most people fail. They wait for a magical motivation that never arrives. The Stoic, on the other hand, doesn't wait. He moves. And that's why he advances while everyone else stands still. Stop negotiating with time. It won't give you guarantees. The now, as imperfect as it may seem, is the soil where transformation begins. Those who understand this stop delaying, stop endlessly planning, and start doing, even with fear, even without certainty. Because that imperfect step is the one that opens paths that comfort could never reveal. Here's one of the hardest truths to accept. You won't feel like it every day, and that's okay. The real problem begins when you believe you should only act if you feel like it. That mindset is the exact opposite of what the Stoics taught. To them, the right action doesn't depend on mood, it depends on duty. Doing what needs to be done, even without motivation, is what separates the strong from the weak. Most people don't fail due to lack of talent. They fail because they rely on feelings to keep a routine, and feelings change. The Stoic trains his mind to act like a soldier on guard. He knows there will be days when the body is tired, but the commitment remains. Commitment to excellence, to growth, to a higher purpose. Even without a spark in his eyes, he shows up. There is something incredibly powerful about completing a task when there's no desire to do it. That's when real strength is forged. A workout done without motivation is worth more than 10 done with hype. A project finished in silence is worth more than 1,000 abandoned ideas. The Stoic understands that silent victories are greater than instant pleasure. Seneca said, "Perseverance is the engine of excellence." This means that success isn't about how intensely you start, but how consistently you continue. Acting without motivation is the invisible victory of discipline. It's the brick that builds the castle of self-mastery. It's the seed that, even planted in dry soil, grows from the power of decision. You may not control how you feel, but you can always control what you do. And that power changes everything. When you remove emotion from the equation and replace it with decision, your life shifts direction. You stop waiting to feel good before acting, and instead, you act to feel better. Because action transforms emotional state, movement generates energy, and discipline creates results. Stoic philosophy reminds us that greatness is built in the routine, not in the hype. It's the ordinary days, the quiet steps, the silent decisions that shape destiny. And if today you don't feel like it, do it anyway. Because the greatest act of strength is doing what must be done without needing emotional permission. And the greatest gift of discipline is the freedom to be consistent in the middle of chaos. There's a distorted belief that discipline is a form of imprisonment, that living with rules means living in chains. But the Stoics saw it exactly the opposite way. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from being a slave to impulses, emotions, and laziness. Those who are disciplined lead. Those who aren't are led. For the Stoic, discipline is the key that unlocks self-control, clarity, and true fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius, even as an emperor, knew that his greatest battle wasn't against external enemies, but within his own mind. He wrote daily to stay firm, alert, and disciplined, because he understood that the power to govern others begins with the power to govern oneself. And self-governance requires internal structure. Without it, freedom becomes chaos, disguised as choice. Discipline isn't about rigidity, it's about alignment. It's aligning what you do with who you want to become. The undisciplined live adrift, constantly reacting to the world. The disciplined build a path and walk it, even through storms. While one sabotages himself because he's not in the mood, the other does what needs to be done, in silence. Over time, this makes all the difference. The disciplined mind doesn't need motivation because it acts from conviction. It doesn't need an audience, applause, or likes. It moves from purpose. And that kind of strength can't be bought or borrowed. It's earned through practice, consistency, and repeated effort. Every day you do what you promised yourself, you reinforce the foundation of this silent freedom. The Stoic knows freedom isn't doing whatever you want whenever you feel like it. It's being able to say no to what weakens you and yes to what strengthens you. It's choosing to sleep early when pleasure demands otherwise. It's getting out of bed even when your body begs for 5 more minutes. That kind of freedom is only born through discipline, and the more you cultivate it, the stronger your mind becomes. In the end, the question isn't, what do I feel like doing? But, what would my strongest self do right now? The answer to that question marks the path between stagnation and evolution. The Stoic already knows the answer. He acts. Because even when it hurts, discipline never fails. And while the world gets lost in fleeting desires, he finds freedom in constancy. Most people underestimate the power of small habits. They believe transformation comes from big decisions, epic moments, or life-changing breakthroughs. But the Stoics knew the real power lies in the repetition of the simple. A small, consistent habit is worth more than grand intentions left unfinished. It's within the quiet routine that character is forged and destiny reshaped. Epictetus said, "Excellence is a habit, not a one-time act." That means the Stoic mind values repetitive gestures, waking up early, reflecting, acting with intention, reviewing mistakes, silencing impulses. It's not about doing a lot in one day. It's about doing a little every day without fail. Success doesn't come from emotional highs. It comes from the straight line of consistency. The Stoics knew habits shape identity. If you behave like a disciplined person every day, even in small things, you become one. The opposite is also true. If you often ignore your commitments, you train your mind to quit. The Stoic mind is trained to resist the temptation of shortcuts and to build power through repetition. Every simple act strengthens the inner structure. Many people look for magic formulas to change their lives, but the answer lies in the details. Getting up when the alarm rings, finishing what you start, organizing what you use, saying no to what steals your focus. It seems small, but that's where greatness lives, because those who are faithful with little are preparing to handle much. The Stoics knew virtue grows from daily vigilance, not from spectacle. The difference between someone who succeeds and someone who only dreams lies in what they do every day when no one is watching. A healthy habit reinforced over weeks builds a strong mind for decades. A habit ignored for a few days leads to regret for years. The Stoic doesn't play with this. He treats his habits as the foundational bricks of the life he's building. If you feel stuck today, look at your routine. It reflects your discipline. You don't have to change everything at once, just adjust one habit at a time with courage and persistence. And as the Stoics knew, real change starts in the invisible, in the silent choice no one sees, but that transforms everything from within. Because mental strength begins with a simple act done daily. We live in a world that romanticizes inspiration. We wait for that spark, that brilliant idea, that magical push to get us moving. But the Stoics taught the exact opposite. Success isn't built on inspiration. It's built on endurance. It's not about how you start when you're excited, but how you keep going when excitement is gone. The real winner is the one still standing after others have already quit. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the midst of war. Epictetus taught philosophy while living as a slave. None of them waited for ideal conditions. They acted through chaos, through pain, in silence, because they knew consistency is more powerful than any flash of brilliance. The world sees the glory, but not the sweat behind it. The Stoic, however, understands. To endure is nobler than to start enthusiastically. The Stoic mind is trained to last, not just to begin. It isn't impressed by spikes in productivity. It values regularity, the kind of discipline that stands even through storms. While most people admire the start, the Stoic commits to the middle and the end. He knows the journey is long, and those who quit early will never see the results of their efforts. Many fail because they think success is an event, when in reality it's a process of setbacks and recovery, of sleepless nights and firm decisions under pressure. Inspiration might get you going, but only endurance will get you there. The Stoic doesn't chase emotion. He builds stability. He chooses to endure even when the inner voice tells him to stop. And this endurance isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, spiritual. It's saying no to doubt, fear, and fatigue. It's rising again after failure. It's refusing to quit when everything feels slow. The Stoic doesn't measure progress by speed. He measures it by direction. And each day of endurance is an invisible victory that brings him closer to who he's becoming. So don't be fooled by stories of overnight success. Behind every Stoic triumph is pain endured, challenges conquered, and hard choices made. The outer glow is a result of inner grit. And when you understand that real success is about resistance, not inspiration, you unlock a power no one can take from you, the power to keep going while the rest of the world gives up. Most people wait to feel something before they begin. They wait for motivation as if it were a magical visitor. But the Stoics teach, don't wait, act. Motivation is unstable, but action creates movement, and movement creates clarity. When you act, even without desire, your mind responds with energy. The strength isn't in feeling ready. It's in acting before doubt takes over. Seneca said it's better to start poorly than to never start at all. Action holds a power that motivation never will. It transforms. It breaks inertia, silences fear, and opens doors that thoughts alone can't. The Stoic mind knows this. That's why it moves. It doesn't wait for the perfect mood, the calm day, or ideal timing. It understands the best moment to act is always now. Motivation is like a spark. It shows up quickly but fades even faster. Action, on the other hand, is like a fire you feed with daily effort. Each small decision strengthens the flame. And the more you act, the less you need motivation, because action becomes habit, and habit becomes identity. The Stoic acts until movement is no longer effort. It becomes who he is. We often think we need confidence before we act, but it's the other way around. Confidence is built through action. Every step taken, even in fear, teaches you something. Every task completed, even with no energy, reinforces discipline. A mind that acts builds courage. A mind that waits feeds anxiety. The Stoics knew that true power begins with the choice not to delay what must be done. Replacing motivation with immediate action is one of the greatest secrets of self-discipline. This doesn't mean acting impulsively. It means acting with awareness, knowing what must be done, and doing it without giving space for internal negotiations. This practice turns your mind into a fortress, because when you become someone who honors your decisions, your confidence multiplies. You don't need to feel good to start. Start, and then you'll feel better. Action gives you strength, order, and a sense of control. Motivation is a fleeting gift. Action is permanent power, and the Stoic always chooses the permanent. He isn't driven by desire. He's guided by decision. And that choice, repeated daily, can transform an entire life. Now that you've made it this far, you already know. Motivation might give you a push at the beginning, but it's discipline that carries you to the end. While the world chases emotional shortcuts, the Stoics chose a firmer path, one of action, consistency, and quiet resilience. And that path is still available to you. But it demands something you won't find in videos, quotes, or songs. It demands a decision, the courage to begin without feeling ready, and the strength to continue without applause. You don't have to feel like it, you have to move. The Stoic mind doesn't negotiate with laziness, doesn't wait for ideal conditions, and doesn't give in to fatigue. It executes, builds, and wins, one habit at a time. Because in the end, it's not the most talented who succeeds, it's the one who endures. The one who understands that real freedom isn't doing whatever you want, but being loyal to what must be done, even when no one is watching. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Click the like button now, share it with someone still waiting for the right time, and comment below, "I choose to act." Your words might be the spark that awakens someone else. And remember, don't live waiting to feel ready. Live like the Stoics. Act, decide, and turn your mind into a tool of freedom. Because motivation is temporary, but discipline is forever,